Welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. We are going to cover oil today, crude oil, WTI specifically. And so we've been talking about this on this channel that we're seeking out a daily cycle low, so a short-term cycle low. Yet at the same time, we are just kind of relatively early in the decline of the weekly cycle. So the shorter cycle, the daily cycle, is due to bottom soon. And yet at the same time, the weekly cycle, the longer term cycle, is not due to bottom soon. That's a really important situation to be aware of, because it means we would expect some kind of multi-day rally. That would be your daily cycle low. That would be your daily cycle rally, right? So at some point we get our daily cycle low, and then we get a multi-day rally, which is our daily cycle advance, and then that rolls over early, and we continue the weekly cycle decline. That's actually a similar picture that we might be seeing for silver, but we'll see. So we have this day 40 low, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. And so this is November 28th, and we have made a new low on the daily cycle on day 45. This low was day 40. So this was a swing low at one point that didn't hold. And so we definitely, this could be our daily cycle low. And I've been saying that at some point we're going to get a little rally of something like this, or something like this, or even like this, maybe even something really short, like 4 or 5 days or something like that, right? But this little thing, it doesn't mean, price can be bearish for a really long time. We could just continue to droop down. I mean, CTLT for examples, but generally price needs to make higher lows, lower highs as it's in a downtrend. So we get a bounce that lasts at least a few days. So maybe this is the start of that bounce, right? And so that might look something like that, right? Something like that. And then we roll over and we start to decline into the next daily cycle, which we would expect would make a low below this low that we just made here on day 45, right? So big reversal today, by the way. I mean, we started very red. We know that because we know how candles form. And so we know this green hammer that we have today was actually a really red, ugly candle at one point. Let's zoom into the hourly chart to see how that actually looks, right? And so, look at this. So again, multi-time frame analysis. This is your swing low. This is your hourly chart. This is your swing low. Oh, that's interesting. Swing high. So that's actually your swing high at 6 a.m. on Friday morning. And we basically have just been cascading lower ever since. And then overnight, we continued to go lower. But notice, this is a complete change in character. This is just a waterfall decline. This is more of a slow grind lower, which sets us up for this big reversal. I mean, look at this kind of V-shaped recovery, right? We'll see if it's going to be able to take out all of that. Let's see. What is the... So this decline was $6.32. So to sort of reclaim, oh, that's interesting. So to get back to that level, right? Excuse me. So we've already reclaimed more than 50% of it, right? Because we have reclaimed about $4. Interesting. We are now seeing a swing high this is a potential top for this candle. And what you're really going to watch for, this is really the next few hours, is how do we get outside the range of this candle? This is the micro analysis if you really want to dig in and get very actionable. So that is a high of $77.82 and a low of $76.57. So just kind of which side of that range do we break out of? Because these last 2 hours have been inside candles. But so far, this is a nice little reversal. And if this is a daily cycle low, we would expect to take out this high, right? We would expect, per that illustration, we would expect a couple of days up. But more importantly, what are we doing on the weekly chart? Actually, I'll go back to that. Let's stay on the weekly chart for a second. So I'll delete this. This is my expectation. I'll delete this for now. Delete this and that. So this is actually week 9 of our weekly cycle, and we have our top on week 6. And we know this is actually a really bearish situation because this top on week 6 is actually just a double top of this high that was made in week 2, right? And that's a really bearish scenario where we just make a slight higher high on week 6. And then once we went below $84.74. That was your sell signal on the weekly, right? Below this candle makes a swing high. So that's what we got on the week of November 14th. And then last week we got downside follow through. We made a new low. And now we're trying to reverse here. So, and again, if we think about the multi-time frame analysis, how that might work, if this is a daily cycle low, we might see a little rally like up to here, right? Like maybe this week is green, maybe even next week is green, and then we start our descent lower highs on the weekly. Because at 9 weeks, that would be really early to have a weekly cycle low. And so we're probably expecting something more like 24, 19, 15 in that neighborhood. So you would expect that we could still, I mean, let's just pretend that this is going to be a 20-week cycle. You know, if we kind of, that would put our low at around, you know, in the February ballpark, which is around the timing band for a 3-year cycle low for oil in general. So it makes sense that, like, what we're essentially saying, to be clear then, is it seems like this is the weekly cycle that is going to take us into the 3-year cycle low, which is really interesting and will probably be a big buying opportunity to get ready for. Now, the question is, how might that look on the daily chart, right? How does that decline for, you know, again, so if you do the math, if we're going to have a 20-week cycle and we're on week 9, we have another 11 weeks of decline. How does that play out on the daily cycle? So we had drawn a hypothetical scenario here last time, but let's pretend that this is our daily cycle low, right? And the daily cycle lasts for 30 days. Who knows how long it rallies? Theoretically, it would be short. That would mean we could get a daily cycle low in early January. And then if we rallied for another 30 days, right? Let's see. Because what we're really trying to understand is the remainder of this weekly cycle decline going to happen in one daily cycle or 2 daily cycles? And that's important because it kind of gives us a sense of, like, are we going to get a few big bounces? Those would be the daily cycle lows. Or is it more of a waterfall decline? We can't know that for sure in advance, but this allows us to, like, have a game plan. Like, oh, does it look like it's going to be version A or does it look like it's going to be version B? So this is a scenario where you have 2 cycles that are about 30 trading days long, and then we roll. So basically, this cycle, like, if we assume this is a daily cycle low, we have a little rally, and then we drop into a low around early January. Then we have another little rally, daily cycle rally, and then we drop into a low in late February. And that could be our 3-year cycle low. So that's interesting. And if we look at the monthly charts, same kind of idea here. And I had actually drawn this to anticipate our December candle. This is a world where we get our little feeble daily cycle. So, you know, if you wanted to be more precise, I can't get the graphics on this, but, like, this would end up probably being a candle with a big wick, right? Like, we probably start the month green because we're in the daily cycle advancing phase, but then we pull back, we lose all of it, we go red, and we'll be watching for that. We know how that happens. A candle goes from green to red by going below its opening price. So you always want to be observing what the opening price is to understand when we're making that flip. And the last thing I'll say is we have that OPEC meeting coming up next week, I believe it is, actually, right? And so that would be, I think it's December 5th, maybe. So let's call it, right? So you could see a world where we actually get a little rally into that number, and that becomes our daily cycle high. Like, you have to imagine that number becomes an important pivot point. So maybe we're not printing a daily cycle low now, and we're going to get our daily cycle low on that day or something around there. I mean, we'll have to see. Either way, that's going to be an important number to watch. That we'll certainly have an update on that, see how that kind of impacts the price action. But I would say for now, the most immediate thing to be aware of is we could rally a little bit here. This could be a daily cycle low, but it's also possible that we're continuing the decline, and we'll see signs of that very clearly. If we go back to this hourly chart, you can see, you know, we're starting to favor the downside scenario here. This candle is starting to wick out, which means there's a pullback on a lower time frame. So if I zoomed into like a 5-minute chart, there you go. That's a little 5-minute swing high. I hope you're seeing this, folks. This is how it works, right? Like that, that is your swing high below that level on the 5-minute chart, which is what is causing the bearishness on the hourly chart, and that'll cascade higher and higher and higher, etc. But you can see this little rally on the 5-minute chart is very clear as well. This is essentially a little bull flag, right, that wants to push higher. So you're really actually going to want to break down below that level to really start to think something might be wrong. And that looks like that's about $77 even, which makes sense. Yeah. I mean, that's not that much further from here, down from here, right? Yeah. But you could easily see we retreat down here and the uptrend stays healthy. That would get you into the 76.5 area. But this is a way, if you wanted to be sort of micro about it, again, those same principles apply on the lower time frames as well. So we're going to be watching this really closely because there are a lot of implications across the board for this. And if we're getting really close to that 3-year cycle low, that could be a really amazing buying opportunity, especially in a world where we continue to see bearishness in other places. One would be looking for places to put their money. So we're going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching.